In 2015, a modern European nation came within days of total financial collapse. Banks closed their doors. Cash withdrawals were limited to €60 a day. Elderly pensioners waited for hours outside shuttered ATMs, some breaking down in tears as their life savings turned into numbers no longer accessible. This wasn't a developing country. This was Greece, the cradle of democracy, philosophy, and the very idea of currency itself. A nation inside the European Union, operating under one of the world's strongest currencies, the euro. And yet, it stood on the edge of ruin, begging for rescue. How could a member of the world's richest economic bloc fall so far, so fast? The answer lies not in a single bad decision, but in the slow decay of financial sovereignty, a story as old as civilization itself. The temptation of cheap money. When Greece joined the euro in 2001, it was like stepping into a new era of prosperity. For decades, the country had been burdened with high debts and chronic deficits. But the euro changed everything. Suddenly, markets treated Greek debt as safe as German debt. Interest rates dropped. Credit flowed freely. It was intoxicating. Public workers got raises. Infrastructure projects exploded. Highways, airports, Olympic stadiums, all symbols of a modern European nation. But beneath the shine, a dangerous truth grew. The economy was living on borrowed time. Much of the money that poured in didn't build sustainable industries or productivity. It fed a bureaucracy that was already bloated. It rewarded political loyalty, not efficiency. And most fatally, it ignored the rot beneath the surface: corruption and tax evasion. By the time the global financial crisis struck in 2008, Greece was already fragile. When the storm came, it shattered. The revelation. In 2009, the world discovered that Greece had been lying, or at least, pretending. The government's budget deficit wasn't 6% of GDP as claimed. It was nearly 15%. The numbers were fake, the books cooked. Confidence vanished overnight. Investors fled. The illusion of safety evaporated. And Greece, cut off from borrowing, was forced to turn to its European partners and the IMF. But salvation came with chains. The austerity years. The first bailout, €110 billion, came with strict conditions. Massive spending cuts, tax hikes, pension reforms, privatizations. In the name of saving Greece, the medicine nearly killed it. Hospitals ran out of supplies. Suicide rates spiked. Youth unemployment passed 60%. Entire generations left the country searching for work. The GDP shrank by a quarter, a collapse on the scale of the Great Depression. Yet through it all, the debt kept rising. Because when your economy shrinks, your debt burden grows heavier. It was a cruel paradox. The more Greece obeyed, the deeper it sank. And every few years, another bailout. More debt to pay the old debt. More conditions. Less sovereignty. The referendum and the illusion of choice. By 2015, the Greek people had enough. They voted no, rejecting the harsh terms of a third bailout. The message was clear. No more humiliation, no more austerity. But within days, the government that had promised defiance accepted an even harsher deal. Because the truth was inescapable. Leaving the euro, the so-called Grexit, would have meant economic chaos. And so, the birthplace of democracy faced a choice between collapse and submission. It chose survival, but survival came at the cost of sovereignty. From that moment on, key decisions about Greece's economy, its budget, taxes, and public spending, were dictated not in Athens, but in Brussels, Frankfurt, and Washington. The Troika, the European Commission, the European Central Bank, and the IMF, became Greece's shadow government. Debt as a weapon. What happened to Greece wasn't new. It was simply the modern version of an ancient mechanism. In the 19th century, when the Ottoman Empire defaulted on its debts, European powers didn't send armies, they sent accountants. They created the Ottoman Public Debt Administration, taking control of the empire's revenues. Taxes collected in Istanbul were funneled to London and Paris. Egypt suffered the same fate in the 1870s. After borrowing heavily to finance modernization and the Suez Canal, it defaulted, and Britain and France stepped in, not as allies, but as managers. The pattern was always the same. Debt first. Control second. Sovereignty last. Greece, in the 21st century, was no different. Flags still waved. Elections still happened. But the real power lay elsewhere. The human cost. Numbers can't capture what Greece went through. They don't show the faces of pensioners begging outside banks. They don't show the children leaving their homeland because there was no future left to inherit. They don't show the small business owners who watched decades of work dissolve in months. For many Greeks, the pain wasn't just economic, it was existential. To lose control over your own country, not through invasion, but through debt, felt like a betrayal of everything Greece had given the world. The modern warning. Today, Greece has stabilized. Tourism has returned. Markets are calmer. But the scars remain, and so does the debt, still above 160% of GDP. And the lesson. Greece's fall was not an isolated story. It was a mirror. Look at Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Argentina. The same cycle plays out again and again. Borrow freely in good times, then collapse when confidence dies. Even the strongest economies, Italy, Japan, the United States, walk the same dangerous edge. The difference is only that their reckoning hasn't arrived yet. The final lesson. Debt isn't just money you owe. It's control you surrender. The more you owe, the fewer choices you have. And when a nation can't print, can't devalue, can't act freely, it's no longer truly independent. Greece's fall didn't come with soldiers or sieges. No walls were breached. But in every meaningful sense, it was a conquest. Quiet, bloodless, financial. History doesn't repeat, it evolves. And if you want to understand how empires fall today, don't look for armies. Look for balance sheets. Because the battlefield of the modern age isn't land, it's debt. If this changed the way you see the world, subscribe. History has the answers. You just have to know where to look.